think it depends on the assay. If it's, we've talked kind of extensively already about the new peak detection, and for sure that needs I would say, a high level of expertise. So we're definitely not there yet in terms of those thresholds and triggering those investigations and what that management would look like. But, for ID, I mean, a target library with, your unique attributes and having that be more of like a yes, no, I think that's very feasible for routine analysts that, I would hope would at least have some baseline for how the technique works, but, maybe doesn't need to know the ins and outs. I do think, the software and the technology is at a point where we can definitely support maybe like an ID method. But, with the understanding that it truly is ID only, it's not going to help us with new peak. It's not going to, it's not purity, it'd be straight ID. And then hopefully using that as a launching pad to build off these other thresholds in order to actually truly be NAM and have, purity and the ID part of this. And then for the PTM monitoring, I think to a limit, it's still within the library. Setting those thresholds is tricky, so I guess you'd have to really think about what the aim of that assay is that you're trying to monitor and what your thresholds are. Because I know that's not something we typically have for a lot of our other methods.
Using LC-MS is not always straightforward, and it's true that you need experts in order to run the system. So in the past few years, we have seen new MS systems that are more dedicated to routine and that are quite easy to use. So this opens the way to people that are not experts in mass spectrometry to use these systems and to run them in a QC environment. All the optimization, the fine-tuning of the system is done almost automatically, which allows for quite robust methods to be run in QC. So you'll still need experts in MS if you have some issues, if you have to do data interpretation when you have some complex problems sometimes. But using routine systems, clearly you don't need many MS experts in your lab, and you can have technicians perform these methods routinely. And it opens the way for the use of MAM in a routine environment. They would need someone who is well trained to the MS system that will be used, but also to all the sample preparation step, which is even more critical, I think. So yes, they need good technicians to run the assay, and also someone who is able to help in case of issue with the system or with the data to do interpretation if something strange comes out. That would be my recommendation. But I don't think today to run MAM, if you need 5 people to run MAM, you don't need 5 MS experts today, I think.
It seems as though someone with little to no experience, even with LC, is able to kind of go up and make the instrument run. So in terms of a routine use, as long as the onus is really on the people making the methods and making those reporting methods and kind of everything that's built into the software, that's really going to make or break this whole aim to get LC-MS more into the routine testing groups. It's really going to be up to like the quality of your reporting methods and how you're processing the data, because going back into what we were talking about, the analysts are not going to have mass spec experience, or they're not going to have that expertise. So in terms of being able to run the system, it seems like it's going really well. So it's really just to make sure that your data output is meaningful, because I'm sure we all know it's a little bit easy to get a false positive or a false negative if your reporting isn't set up just so, and really a routine analyst is not going to catch that.
I think that you'll need some high-level, probably manager that has expertise who can address any concerns, but really you want plug and play, especially if you're looking at CFR 21 compliance, right? You just need to be able to load, hit a button, and get the results. They're consistent every time. You understand what they mean, and you move forward, right? So I think, there's a challenge there. I think we can get there, but I think that we're not there yet. I mean, I think it's important that even if you're not a mass spec expert, that you understand the assay that you're doing. Some more training.
I would say to have this, at least some level of expertise would be needed, because like what Jared said, if you're talking about early in the characterization, it needs to be, the person needs to be skilled enough to be able to analyze the data. But as you move on towards the release assays in QC, up to certain level of expertise is certainly needed. So, for example, we talked about the new peak detection. So, if something new is coming up, so person should be capable enough of, how to flag out those to the right people. Then, how you define your SOP, whether you want tackle those new peaks detected at that level, or you want to go back to the characterization level. So I have had many discussions there on what is the best way. So I think it is more about how you describe your SOPs, up to what level of data analysis you want at the QC level, and any those outlier features you want to go back to the characterization team or the right team which have the right skill set. So that is something at the organization level people can define on their SOPs on how up to what level of skill is needed in both the different places, whether it's the early characterization or it's at the QC level.